Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The paper we are presenting is just a position paper from the Department of Psychology. I call it position paper because it was hurriedly put together, and but we want to, make some points. So the title of the paper is Appraising Legal and Forensic Psychology Dimensions of the Nigerian Criminal Justice System. So we are looking at the forensic psychology. Two names there: forensic psychology, legal psychology. Their dimensions, and the criminal investigation in Nigeria. So other people I have some other names: Dr. Adedeji, Dr. Olasupo, and Dr. Ibidapo are part of the paper. So briefly, what I want to tell this gathering is that just to tell this gathering that psychology is a very, very relevant and indispensable discipline in the criminal justice system across the entire criminal justice system, from law enforcement to judicial system to the correctional system. So without taking much time, I would like to give us brief definitions of legal and forensic psychology. Although later you will discover that all these names together, they are used interchangeably. Some people in some literature, you will find something like criminological psychology. In some literature, you will find something like criminal justice psychology, or forensic psychology, or legal psychology. Is still saying more or less the same thing. But the difference is, I want to put, there is a difference between legal psychology and forensic psychology. Let me quickly give the distinction using the American Psychological Association definition. But first and foremost, let me use the British psychology, British society, psychological society definition before I go to American Psychological Society. According to British Psychological Society, the field of forensic psychology is defined broadly as the application of psychology to the understanding of offenders' behavior, the investigative and judicial processes that bring them to justice, their treatment, and the outcomes of their criminal actions. That is according to the British Psychological Society's definition. And the area covered includes the different types of crimes. We have psychopathy, criminal investigation, investigative interview, and questioning, eliciting information. This word eliciting information, let me put the way our police, the law enforcement, the way they elicit information is sometimes very crude. In fact, they torture accused persons. Sometimes they torture them to death in an attempt to elicit information. But legal forensic psychology has a way of eliciting information without necessarily inflicting injury or causing the death of an accused person. And incidentally, the Nigeria's criminal justice system rests on the fact that your innocence is presumed until you are proven guilty. So you will assume that you are innocent before you are proven guilty. And the adversarial, the judicial system, which is an adversarial system, allows the accused person to present it's okay to prove his own innocence. While the prosecutor is trying to prove his guilt, the accused will make effort to prove his innocence. So because of that, forensic psychology elicits information in psychology using psychology. So we have also applied memory, deception detection, criminal profiling, and crime linkage, professional training, legal and investigative decision making, expert testimony, offender management, treatment and assessment, crime victimization, legal and public response to crime, among numerous others. So let's quickly look at the American Psychological Association definition, which says that forensic psychology is a specialty within psychology that provides informed professional expertise in the legal and judicial system. So, having said that, so let me quickly look at the functions of psychologists in law and criminal justice. That they actually, some individuals in the courts, either the defendant or the plaintiff, they may have psychiatric conditions, or behavioral or psychological traits that are critical to legal decision making. For example, a suspect with substance abuse disorder or juvenile offender for that matter with schizophrenia, so the forensic psychologists often work in two areas. They work, even though this paper is criminal investigation, but they also do civil. They also work in civil litigation. So a forensic psychologist may be brought in to consult on civil cases such as workers' compensation, child custody, disability or personal injury. But now to the criminal, component which is relevant, to this paper, position paper. In criminal proceedings, on the other hand, a forensic psychologist might work with populations involved in criminal cases. This work may involve evaluating defendants who may need psychiatric treatment. Some cases, some people might need psychiatric treatment. Advising on sentencing consideration for juveniles. This area is also very critical because in criminal justice system, after conviction, after the accused person has been found guilty, through the adversarial system. So wait a minute, please. After being found guilty, now the judge will now sentence. Sentencing follows conviction. And in Nigeria, so many things are wrong with sentencing. Because you discover that some politicians here who stole billions of naira, they sentence them to, in fact, go and read AFCC law. When I read it, I was laughing. I think the maximum punishment is 7 years. And most of them have been getting 2 years. Those who stole 100, 300 billion. One particular woman, I don't want to mention her name now, she returned after returning 192 billion naira, was sentenced to 2 years. And they now said the sentencing starts from the day of arrest. And we eventually ended up spending 6 months behind the bar. And I read in sometimes person who stole a goat, I was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment with hard labor in this society, Nigeria. So let me quickly run up. So the relevance of this paper and psychology to criminal justice system is that what I want to say here is that along the three components, the law enforcement, the judicial system, the correctional system, psychologists function in all the three. And then, but unfortunately, in Nigeria, In Nigeria, I want to quote an authority. Psychologists take up variety of roles in the court proceedings. Variety of roles in the court proceedings. But in Nigeria here, the expertise and the skill of professionals, criminological psychologists, they are relatively underutilized. So psychologists take up these roles, but they are not used. Nigerian psychologists are hardly invited to perform these roles. So psychiatrists, instead of psychology, they have been always invited psychiatrists, called upon to provide evidence in courts. So this may be due to the fact that Nigerian lawyers and members of the public are probably, I don't want to use the wrong word, not aware that psychologists in this country are capable of providing such services. So please, that's the last statement. Let me make the last statement, please. This one is more important than the other statement. Psychologists in the United Kingdom, they have expanded their roles in criminal and civil proceedings, according to Harvard 1981 and Etar. Psychologists have referred cases to psychiatrists. They had referred cases to psychologists, which eventually, their findings later became part of the reports of the Psychiatric Society. So, and then the so the areas where psychology is, let me just mention the 4 areas and leave the place. I will not explain. So the areas of experimental role, they play clinical role, they play actuarial role, and then advisory role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.